To improve to 8-3 in Week 12, the Buffalo Bills are going to have to overcome the best defense in the NFL on a short week on the road. I'll tell you how they can do it today on Locked On Bills.
You are Locked On Bills, your daily Buffalo Bills podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Bills Mafia? It's Joe Marino, author of the Herd Mentality Substack, co-host of the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast, co-host of the NFL First Read Podcast, and I'm your host of Locked On Bills. Locked On Bills is a proud part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. Want to thank you for making Locked On Bills your first listen every day, and a big welcome and shout out to our everydayers. You know who you are. Those of you who never miss a single episode, I appreciate y'all being here very, very much. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5. And if your bet wins, you're going to get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Welcome in, folks. It's time to get ready for the Bills' Week 12 opponent, the challenges they present, and what the Bills need to do to deal with them. So let's dive into it. The Bills are on the road in Week 12 to face the Houston Texans. The game will be played on Thursday, November 20th at 8:15 p.m. Eastern Time at NRG Stadium in Houston, Texas. You can watch the game on Amazon Prime Video. Al Michaels is on the play-by-play. Kirk Herbstreit is the game analyst, and Kaylee Hartung is the sideline reporter. This will be the 13th all-time meeting between the Bills and the Texans, and the Bills are actually 5-7 against Houston, and they've not performed well recently. The Texans have won 3 of the last 4 and 6 of the last 8. Sean McDermott is 1-3 against Houston. Of course, the most recent meeting coming last year, a 20-23 loss in Houston, where Josh Allen went 9 for 30. The Bills enter this game 7-3. The Texans are 5-5. Their 5 wins have come against the Titans, Ravens, 49ers, Jaguars, and Titans. Their 5 losses have come to the Rams, Bucks, Jaguars, Seahawks, and Broncos. The head coach of the Houston Texans is Nico Collins. He's in his 3rd season on the job. They're 25-19 so far under his coaching. They went 10-7 each of his first 2 seasons, and they are 5-5 so far in 2024. They have overcome a pretty slow start to even the record at 5-5, which includes the last 2 wins with their backup quarterback, Davis Mills. So DeMeco Ryans, 25-19, 3rd season, had 6 seasons as an assistant coach with the 49ers prior to his opportunity to be the head coach in Houston, was a quality control coach for 1 season, then 3 years as a linebackers coach, and then the last 2 years as the 49ers defensive coordinator, which led to him becoming the Houston Texans head coach. Of course, he was a 10-year NFL linebacker. His first 6 years in the league came with Houston, where he was the defensive rookie of the year and a 2-time Pro Bowler, and now he's their head coach. The quarterback, we think, is going to be Davis Mills, and I'm recording this on Tuesday morning. Obviously, there could be some news, but the expectation is that C.J. Stroud is going to miss this game, and he's missed the last 2 with a concussion, and if that's the case, Davis Mills will be the starting quarterback. And Davis Mills is 27. He was a 3rd-round pick in 2021 out of Stanford by the Texans. And obviously he played out his rookie deal, but then they signed him to a 1-year, $5 million deal, and then they've already signed him for next year for a 1-year, $7 million deal. So they really like him as their paid backup quarterback. He's 6'4", 225 pounds. He has started 28 games so far in his NFL career. Houston is 7-19-1 in those 28 starts. They're 2-0 this year with Mills as their starting quarterback. He got a lot of opportunity to start his first 2 seasons as a third-round pick on some really bad football teams. So they were 5-19-1 in those first 2 seasons. And, of course, the Texans have become a lot better since then. And, he's 2-0 in his last 2 starts, those, of course, coming the last 2 weeks. So far this year, he's completing 60% of his passes. He threw for 274 yards against the Titans, and then he threw for 292 against Jacksonville, 3 total passing touchdowns and an interception. He did have a big rushing touchdown there in their big comeback against Jacksonville a couple weeks ago as part of a big fourth quarter, 2 fourth-quarter touchdown passes and a fourth-quarter rushing touchdown that won them a game in a big comeback for Houston. Let me give you his advanced metrics, and let me point this out. Because Davis Mills is not a traditional starting quarterback, I have to give you these metrics based on the top 38 quarterbacks in the NFL in terms of dropbacks. Normally, I give you the top 32. This will be the top 38 so that we can include Davis Mills because he has 134 dropbacks. And so 38 quarterbacks have at least 134 dropbacks. So all these metrics that I'm giving you are out of 38 and not the normal 32. So far this year, he's minus 0.07 expected points added. That's EPA per dropback. That's 26th in the NFL. He throws deep 13.3% of the time. That's actually pretty high. That's the 8th highest rate in the NFL. Yards after catch, not a big part of what's going on here. Only 26% of his yards come after the catch. That's dead last. 10% lower than the next guy. So just not getting any yak at all. He throws to his first read 75% of the time. That is the 2nd highest rate. So backup quarterback comes in, runs the offense, right? His average time to throw is 2.42 seconds. That's 5th highest in the NFL. His catchable ball rate is 71%, which is 32nd. His turnover-worthy throw rate is 4.2%, which is 30th. His drop rate is 4.2%, which is 7th lowest. That's actually very good. He's pressured 33% of his dropbacks, which is the 8th lowest amount. So he doesn't face a lot of pressure. He gets the ball out pretty quick. They run play action 24% of the time. That is 27th. And they don't run screens at all. 4.5% screen rate. That is dead last, 38th. And so, he's a backup quarterback. And I'll give you some big time nuggets about him when I give you my keys for the Bills defense against this offense. But in studying these 2 quarterbacks, C.J. Stroud and Davis Mills, you definitely prefer to play Davis Mills. I think C.J. Stroud, it was kind of coming on for him. They have a new offensive coordinator this year. They pretty much redid the offensive line. There's a lot of new pieces at receiver, a redone running back room. So everything was new around C.J. Stroud, and things were bumpy to start the year, but I thought he was kind of coming along, and then he was concussed and has missed the last 2.5 games, and it's looking like he's going to miss a third. I hope he gets back, obviously, but I think you would much rather play Davis Mills than C.J. Stroud, even though I do think that Davis Mills is a quality backup quarterback. All right, we'll talk more about this Houston Texans offense on the other side of it, so folks, be sure to stick with me.
Today's show is brought to you by our friends over there at Peloton. Look, folks, it's time to break through the busiest time of the year with a brand new Peloton cross-training Tread Plus that's powered by Peloton IQ. It's Peloton's most elevated technology and equipment yet that gives you real-time guidance, and it gives you endless ways to move, whether you want to work out by yourself or if you want to work out with your favorite instructor, like my personal favorite, Alex Toussaint. He always gets me fired up to tackle the day. And the thing I like about Peloton, it helps me achieve more in less times. They have features that help you plan, stay motivated, track your progress, and Peloton IQ also provides personalized workout plans and recommendations. That's something that I use right now during the busiest time of the year covering the NFL. They plan my workouts for me based on my mood, my vibe, and also my favorite instructors. So make sure you check it out and use it because it also helps you correct your form in real time, and it maximizes your reps. It counts your reps so that you can do it smarter, safer, and more efficient. Let yourself run, lift, flex, push, and go. Explore the new Peloton cross-training Tread Plus at onepeloton.com.
Welcome back, folks. Let's talk more about this Houston offense that is coordinated by Nick Caley. He's 42 years old. It's his first season as the Texans offensive coordinator. Spent the last 2 with the Rams as their passing game coordinator, and tight ends coach. And then he had a long stretch with the New England Patriots, 2015 through 2022, as their tight ends coach. So far this year, they're scoring 22 points per game. That's 21st. They pass the ball 60% of the time. They run it 40%. So they're 9th in pass rate. They're 24th in run rate. They're 18th in EPA per play offensively, 15th in EPA per pass, 22nd in EPA per rush. They convert third downs 36% of the time. That's 26th. And the red zone offense not really clicking, 43% in the red zone. That is 31st. Let's talk about their personnel. At wide receiver, they got a dude, Nico Collins. Big, explosive receiver. I think he's one of the most dynamic vertical receivers in the entire NFL. He's not only a very good route runner down the field, but he has speed, he has size, he has body control. He is a really, really dynamic vertical threat. And he just finds ways to get loose down the field. He's a big, big assignment for the Bills. Then they have some younger players. Jaden Higgins, they took him in the high second round this past year. I really liked him coming out of Iowa State. Profiles as an X-receiver, good size, good body control, surprising route running skill for the body profile, really, really dynamic at the catch point. I'm a big fan of Jaden Higgins, and it feels like his opportunities have ramped up. In the offense the last couple of weeks, they've prioritized getting him the ball a little bit more. He's been the first read a little bit more, and so you got to be aware of this guy. He's coming along, and I think he's got a heck of a skill set. Then they also have Xavier Hutchinson, who's been one of their depth receivers for a number of years. Not super dynamic in terms of athleticism, but a good route runner, physical, good hands, nice depth receiver. Then they also have Christian Kirk. You probably remember him from his time with the Jaguars and Cardinals. He's been banged up the last few years of his career. He's been banged up so far during his time with Houston. He's a potent kind of vertical slot, but he hasn't quite carved out his role for this offense, and he's been working back from injury. And then Jalen Knoll, the other receiver they drafted this past year, I think he profiles as a slot, very good yards after catch, very good verticality to his game. I think he's a very potent young player. So they've got some very intriguing receivers. Obviously, the only one that's truly established right now is Nico Collins, but keep an eye on Higgins and Knoll because I think they have a chance to be really good receivers in the NFL, and their opportunities are ramping up as their rookie season moves along. At tight end, they have a solid starter in Dalton Schultz. He's been there for a number of years. I'm hesitant to say he's just your classic regular tight end. I think he's a little better than that. So take the K. Dotton player that I discussed last week with Tampa, and then a little bit better across the board with Dalton Schultz. The Bills have been very, very good at defending tight ends this year. In fact, they've given up the lowest yards per game to tight ends. But Dalton Schultz is definitely a stabilizing player for this offense. He doesn't, make every play, but he's a good starting NFL tight end. And his running mate is Cade Stover. Not much of a factor in the passing game, but a big-bodied blocker that they'll get on the field. At running back, it's Woody Marks and Nick Chubb. Woody Marks is a rookie, kind of known as a pass-catching specialist that has become really their lead back in Houston. And his running mate is Nick Chubb. Yeah, that Nick Chubb, but also not that Nick Chubb, right? Removed from multiple big injuries. This is kind of where he's at in his career. Doesn't have the same juice or the same physicality, but, a cerebral runner that I guess you kind of think of him like Kareem Hunt, right, with the Chiefs, where just not the same guy he used to be, but savvy, knows how to find space, going to fall forward, that type of thing. And, there was a point in time where I thought Nick Chubb was the best pure runner in the NFL. Obviously, he's not that guy anymore, but he can still help like Kareem Hunt helps the Chiefs. They also have Dari Ogunbowale, who's a good third down back, can catch the ball a little bit. You can't sleep on him. It feels like every once in a while that guy makes a really big-time play. So when it comes to carry distribution, Woody Marks has 99, and Nick Chubb has 99. And then their next highest player in terms of a running back is Dameon Pierce with 10 carries. So this will be the Woody Marks, Nick Chubb show when it comes to them running the football. When it comes to target distribution, Nico Collins leads the way with 82. Then it's the tight end Dalton Schultz with 68. Then it's Jaden Higgins with 36, Xavier Hutchinson 34, Christian Kirk has 31 targets, but in only 6 games. Then Woody Marks, 25, Jalen Knoll, 25, Nick Chubb, 18. So their go-to guys are Nico Collins and Dalton Schultz, but I wouldn't sleep on Jaden Higgins and him kind of emerging here during his rookie season. Let's talk about this offensive line. This has been a huge deal for Houston. They've been churning this thing, and I'm not sure it's where it needs to be, but it's definitely different than the way it's been. So their left tackle is a rookie, Arionte Ursary, really good size and athleticism. He's a guy that I thought needed a lot of technical work coming out of Minnesota. And so he's failing forward on the job, if you will. He's playing, and obviously I think he's got a lot of ceiling to develop into, but he's still a very inconsistent rookie that I thought was more project-y than maybe where his draft position suggested. Their left guard is Jarrett Patterson, a player that I think is better suited to play center. He's not really going to be known for his power. He's more of a positional blocker with good athleticism. He's their left guard. Their center is Jake Andrews, was a former 4th-round pick by the Patriots that never really latched on there. He's a first-year starter with Houston. Their right guard is Titus Howard. This has been their consistent offensive lineman over the years, was a first-round pick a number of years back, has played literally every position for him, even played mostly right tackle this year, but he's kind of settled in at right guard. I think he's probably their most consistent offensive lineman. Then their right tackle is Trent Brown. You remember him from playing against him with the Patriots. He's, huge. He's massive. He's absolutely massive. He's a high variance player for sure. Has bounced around the last few years, but gives them an experienced player there at right tackle. So I think it's a shaky group. You have some developing young players in Ursary, Patterson, and Andrews. I'm not sure there's much ceiling for Andrews and Patterson. And then Howard's a stabilizing player, but Brown is probably a guy you don't prefer to start. So there should be some opportunities to take advantage of this offensive line. So what are my keys for the Bills' defense against this offense? Number one is you have to make Davis Mills work deeper into progressions. He is a backup quarterback that comes in and runs the offense. We talked about it, the second highest percentage of throws to his first read. He wants to run the play as it's designed to run. And when you look at his splits when he throws to not his first read, boy, the wheels come off. So among the 40 quarterbacks so far this year, 40 quarterbacks to throw at least 25 times beyond their first read, it's a tough story for Davis Mills. He's pressured on 48% of those dropbacks, which is second highest. He has a 9.7% turnover-worthy throw rate when going beyond his first read. That's dead last. His completion percentage over expectation is minus 15%, dead last. His regular completion percentage, 54.5%, dead last. Yards per attempt, 4.26 yards per attempt when throwing beyond his first read, dead last. So you got to make him work deeper into progressions, and that's something that was a hallmark of Sean McDermott defense is, hey, your first read's not going to be there. You're going to have to go somewhere else. Do that against this team because Davis Mills is not very good when he has to work deeper into his progressions. Number two is Nico Collins. I think the world of Nico Collins. He's one of those receivers that makes me nervous to play against him. He's not Jamar Chase or Justin Jefferson in terms of like that type of status in the league, but he's lethal. He's a lethal football player that can really challenge you with his verticality. And so, I don't think the Bills have faced a lot of receivers like this yet so far this year. It'll be a big assignment for Buffalo. Number three is you have to manufacture pressure. I'm very concerned about the Bills' pass rush. I talked about that in the All-22 review. But you got to be able to take advantage of this, patched together offensive line with young players and maybe a few guys that are playing out of position. So whatever you got, stunts, blitzes, moving different guys around, finding matchups that you like. You need to manufacture pressure against a bad offensive line. And then number four, you got to be able to handle motion. Not that Houston uses a ton of motion. They're kind of middle of the pack in terms of motion rate. But when they do use motion, they're 9th in EPA per play with motion. But what it really comes down to is the Bills, I think, have really struggled with motion, in particular against the run. The Bills are 5th worst in EPA per run with motion. Now, they're bad no matter what when it comes to defending the run, but they're a lot better when there's no motion. And what motion is happening so far to the Bills is it's forcing them to bump their backers, and teams are just using that against them where, they're they know that they're going to kind of go with the motion, and then they're running back across the grain, and it's been a challenge. And so based on Nick Caley's pedigree, working with Sean McVay, some time with the Patriots, that motion's part of what he's got. And the Bills have to be able to not be as victimized by some eye candy and stay true to their principles and their gap assignments and not get displaced because of motion. If they're going to get displaced because somebody moves you out of the way. Don't get out-gapped or out-leveraged because of motion. That's been a problem. So make Davis Mills work deeper into progressions. You got to have a good plan for Nico Collins. That's the type of player where you commit a little extra attention, got to manufacture pressure against a bad offensive line, and you got to do a much better job of being disciplined when the other team has motion. All right, the Houston Texans have the best defense in the league. It's not close. We'll talk about it and how the Bills can find some success here on the other side of it. So, folks, be sure to stick with me. The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you missed the start of the game or you want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into same-game parlays for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's making that late push. It just makes everything more fun. I love watching sports, especially the NFL. I watch games that aren't just the Bills, and it's always fun to have some prop bets. I like to go onto FanDuel, see what prop bets are there, and think about what I know about the NFL and say, yeah, I think that player will have more than whatever the over-under is for receiving yards or rushing yards, and it just makes those games even more exciting. So check it out. There's a great offer right now. FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, this Houston Texans defense is phenomenal. Let's talk about it. The coordinator is Matt Burke. He's 49 years old. It's his third year as Houston's defensive coordinator. He was the Dolphins defensive coordinator 2017 and 2018. Longtime assistant coach in the league since 2004. He came up under Jeff Fisher. Then he was a linebackers coach under Jim Schwartz and Marvin Lewis. Did a great job there. That got him the opportunity to be the defensive coordinator with the Dolphins. And now he's the defensive coordinator under DeMeco Ryans in Houston. And if I'm not mistaken, this was the first year that DeMeco Ryans wasn't their defensive play caller. And obviously Matt Burke is doing a great job. So far this year, they're number one in scoring defense. They only allow 16 points per game. They're first in EPA per play. They're first in EPA per pass. They're 10th in EPA per run. They're 34% on third down. That's number 3 in the NFL. Their red zone defense, surprisingly not very good at all. 65% conversion rate in the red zone. That's 28th. They run a lot of zone coverage, 78% zone coverage. That's 5th highest. And they're going to give you a lot of cover 4 and a lot of cover 6. So cover 4 is quarters. That means that you have a 4 deep structure. So 4 leveraged defenders over top of the defense that split the defense into fourths. So everyone's got a fourth of the field that they stay leveraged over top of. And then they run cover 6, which is quarter, half. So you play quarter to one side of the field. You play half to the other. So you have to the passing strength, you'll have 2 deep defenders over that half of the field, and then 1 defender over the other half to the non-passing strength. So point being is you're going to get zone coverage where they take away deep stuff, and they've got a lot of commitment to staying leveraged vertically over top of it. So don't get bored with the short stuff this week, Josh. They blitz 25% of the time. That is 21st. I was actually very surprised to see their pressure metrics not be that good. They're 17th in pressure rate. They're 15th in pressure rate over expectation. So they got some really good pass rushers. I thought their passing metrics or their pressure metrics would be a little better. Let's talk about their personnel on defense. Their defensive tackles, well, they got Tim Settle. Tim Settle's become a much better player for Houston than he was in Buffalo. And I'm not saying he's like an all-world player, but he's at least a sufficient level starter where he was a fringe good depth player in Buffalo. His running mate is Sheldon Rankins. Sheldon Rankins is a good pass-rushing interior defensive lineman. I don't think either one is a super firm run defender, but these are penetration-style players that will get up the field. And then it's Mario Edwards is kind of their third guy, another smaller defensive tackle, better pass rusher than he is run defender, but, a lot of experience between those three players at defensive tackle. On the edge, they got the best edge rushers in the league, Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter. Those guys are phenomenal. Will Anderson, the number 3 pick in the draft a few years ago, I think he's special, a really special pass rusher. He's got burst, he's got bend, he's unrelenting, and he's really, really dynamic. That'll be a big, big assignment for the Bills. And so is Danielle Hunter, who's been one of the best pass rushers in the league for a number of years. He's still got plenty of juice, plenty of flexibility, plenty of power, plenty of length. This is a big, big task here for Deion Dawkins and Spencer Brown. I think that is comfortably the best pair of edge rushers in the league, and they have good depth. Nico Autry and Derek Barnett are very outstanding veteran rotational players to spell those guys, Hunter and Anderson. And those guys, at least Autry, you can play on the inside a little bit as well. So they're absolutely loaded with defensive ends. At linebacker, Azeez Al-Shaair is their Mike Backer, good physical downhill player. Was a reserve for a few years and got a chance to start recently, and he's become a very good starting Mike linebacker. His running mate is E.J. Speed, a guy that was with the Colts for a number of years. I know that his last name is Speed, but he actually does have speed. He complements Shaair in terms of being the matchup player, so they're very traditional. Al-Shaair is a traditional downhill Mike linebacker. E.J. Speed is more of a traditional weak side linebacker, pursuit style, coverage matchup type player. And when they go 3 linebackers, then they'll bring in Henry To'o. To'o, who's a good Sam linebacker, can play downhill, good run defender, smart processor, has some physical limitations, but he's definitely a smart football player. At corner, I think they have comfortably the best corner tandem in the NFL. It's not particularly close. Derek Stingley is special, really special ball skills. It's tough to complete passes on this guy. Now, he's got some tackling and run defense issues, but this guy in coverage is phenomenal, and he's got really, really dynamic ball skills. His running mate is Kamari Lassiter, second-round pick, I think, last year. Was a good rookie starter. He's even better in year 2. This is a comfortably, I think you've got an elite starter in Stingley. You've got a high-end quality starter in Lassiter. Then in the slot, Jalen Petrie. And pay attention to this one. I think he's going to play. He's missed some time recently with a concussion as well. He's developed into, probably the best slot corner in the league. He plays this hybrid safety slot role. He's unbelievable. The way that he triggers and blitzes and fills against the run, but he's got ball skills. He's good in coverage. He's good at everything. That's really unfair for them to have those 3 players all together. They're really a special group. Now, if Petrie can't go, Miles Bryant, who's their other starting safety, will probably come down and play in the slot. Miles Bryant's been was like a depth player for the Patriots for a number of years, and now he's their starting safety, but will play in the slot if Petrie can't go. So at safety, then it's Kalen Bullock, young player. Think about your classic center fielder type safety, rangy. Doesn't have a ton of size. He's not a very good downhill tackler, but he's got great range and ball skills over top. And when you're playing quarters and you're playing cover 6, he's going to be in those positions to stay leveraged and break on the football, and that's what he does best. His running mate would be Miles Bryant. If Miles Bryant has to play in the slot because Jalen Petrie's out, then Jalen Mills from the practice squad will come in. And Mills is kind of a journeyman backup type player. He's played a lot. You can do worse as a fill-in player, but obviously their defense is optimized if Miles Bryant can be in the lineup. So what do you do here? What do you do against this defense that is metrically outstanding and has premier talent? Like I said, I think they have comfortably the best edge rushers in the league. They have comfortably the best corners in the league. So number one, I think your run game needs to find some rhythm. And really, let's be honest, the last 2 weeks against the Dolphins and Bucs, you haven't found it at all. And I think you have some matchup advantages this week with your interior offensive line against their defensive tackles. And you got to find ways, I think, to work your inside zone run game and get it going. I think this is an important game for the Bills rushing offense. They're unbelievable defending the pass. I think you have some opportunities to move bodies out of the way on the inside and hopefully find some production running the football. I think that's going to be important. Number 2 is you got a heavyweight fight that you need to win on the edge in terms of your offensive tackles, Deion Dawkins and Spencer Brown, which I think is one of the best offensive tackle tandems in the league against the best defensive end duo in the NFL. I mean, you want to talk about just a heavyweight fight. That'll be a lot of fun to go back and watch that, because I think you have just A-plus players on both sides of that equation. There's going to be some battles that are lost, but the Bills need to win the war there. Number 3 is I think you have to find the right blend in the passing game. You're going to need some efficiency this week. You're going to need it. I know everybody loves playmaker Josh that we saw against Tampa, and I think you need to find your chances to unleash that against Houston. But I think you're also going to need some efficiency, some on-schedule stuff, some yards after catch. So they're going to play leverage deep. That's what they do. They take away deep stuff. They dare you to be patient. So be patient. Take the short throws, get some yards after catch, and use that to set up your chances down the field. And when you have chances down the field, you got to hit it. So this is, to me, a game where you want to be able to run the football well. You need to work in your short passing game and pick your spots throwing deep. Houston's the best play action defense in the league. I told you all about the Chiefs and the Bucs and how they're bad at play action. No, this is the best at defending play action. So you're going to have some scheme wins here, and you're going to have to play above it a little bit. So I think there's a tough needle to thread for the Bills offense against this Houston defense, especially on a short week on the road. So big assignment here for Buffalo. But make the plays when you have a chance to make them. And I think there's some, like I said, there's some chances here with your inside zone run game and sprinkling in your efficiency in the passing game and then dialing up some shot plays that you got to hit when they're there. All right, special teams real quick. Their kicker is Kaimi Fairburn. He's missed the last couple games due to a quad injury. He practiced in full on Monday. He's an excellent kicker. He's 22 of 25 this year, perfect on extra points. He was 84% last year, but 94% in 2023 and 2022. He's a good kicker. If he can't go, I'd assume Matthew Wright would handle the job like he has the last couple weeks. Their punter is awesome, Tommy Townsend. I think he's like top 5 punter in the league. Was with Kansas City for 4 seasons. Now he's with Houston. He's excellent. And then the returner is that Jalen Knoll guy that I talked about. Very good yards after catch player. He's not small. He's got a dense build. And, I think he's very potent so far this year. 23 punt returns for an average of 11 yards. It's something he's experienced doing in college. So it's an interesting matchup for sure. It's hard to know what to expect from the Bills offensively against this defense. It's the Bills' longest road trip of the year. And, of course, it comes on a short week in Houston. So a big assignment. I think the Bills defense, has to certainly take advantage of some opportunities, but what type of offensive performance can we expect? This is a Houston defense that makes a lot of top-end quarterbacks look silly. And we'll see what Josh Allen and company has cooked up for Thursday night. All right, we have more to do this week. We'll have Crossover Thursday, which I intend to post for you on Wednesday night. So I know that it's going to be hard to resist the, hey, it's Wednesday, it's Thursday. People love to make a comment about that, but I want to give people as much time as you can to consume the content. The Bills play Thursday night, so I'm recording that with Locked On Texans on Wednesday at 6 o'clock, and I'll get it produced as quickly as I can thereafter and post it for you. And then we'll also get you the final thoughts and predictions, and we'll talk to Dr. Kyle Trimble of Banged Up Bills. I'll post that as quickly as I can get that done as well. So that content's still coming your way, and then, of course, we're going to go live right after Bills Texans with Bill Squad. And then you'll get my regular post-game reaction, the All-22 review. There's a lot going on in these short weeks. So just make sure you're subscribed. Would love it if you took a second to rate, review, and share the podcast. Have a great rest of your day. Go Bills. And I look forward to catching up with you again real soon.